Ready to go? All right, we're on the microphone here. Okay. So, yeah, we usually go with that. So let's begin with the prayer. Loving and gentle God, you have called us to grow, to continually grow, to be able to discover who we are while we're here, what's going on with our bodies as we grow older. Help us to be able to see what you see, to love what you love, to love the mystery. We pray this in the name and in the power of Jesus, your Son and our brother, forever and ever. Amen. Amen. Okay, well, welcome to our class on growing up spiritually, and it's a joy to have you. We usually don't have classes in midday. This is one of my first ones, I think, and usually it's at night, so it's good to be here with you. Anybody feel like they're getting older?
Two hands. Older and
Does
older.
anybody feel they've arrived?
All right.
Not getting older anymore, I'm there.
All right. Well, we're all getting there. The problem is what's there, okay? And Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, a Jesuit, spoke of the passivities of diminishment. Huh? And he says, could it mean when we're less in charge of our lives, more dependent on the support of others, and the prospect of death and dying lurks in the shadows? Could it be when people begin to treat us differently? Is there a distinctive spirituality that can be fashioned from these ingredients? So, what's your experience of growing older? Is it any of the ones I just mentioned?
Yes.
Yeah? Does one stand out?
Yeah.
What?
Slowing down. I've got too much to do, and I can't move slow.
Oh, you can't move slow, huh?
I can't. I gotta move.
Yeah,
The
well,
body says.
your body has a way of taking care of that, you know. It slows down whether you want to or not. Yeah.
Death lurking. And then these young guys I play golf with, they call me old man.
Oh my, yes. Yes, well.
So sometimes I say, no, you don't need to help me with this or that.
Yeah,
You know,
well,
they
the way to solve that is just to beat them in their own game.
well, once in a while.
I like to do that when I'm playing with younger people. Let me just say this, that all of this material, and there's a lot of it here, is not meant to give anyone a bigger to-do list. All right? We all have enough on that. What I would hope is that there's a lot of material here, and some of these things are going to ring true, and some are not. Some are going to resonate, and I put resonate markers on your desk there. And I call them resonate markers, so that means when you come to a point which it resonates with you, use the yellow marker. So you can go back later and reflect on it, because there's so much here, there's no way we can cover it all, okay? So, let me just kind of go through, we'll take turns reading at times, because you don't get tired of my voice. All right. There, we just covered that. That's from Thomas Clark, a Jesuit. Okay, where does getting older begin? Children and adolescents may say when you're 30. I remember growing up, anybody over 30 was, ancient, right? Until you reach 30 and you realize it wasn't true. Seniors kind of start around 55 or 60. You start getting AARP things around 50, right? Speaking of a senior spirituality, this helps us tap into the insights and techniques of church and culture in our own time. God is asking of us what techniques of church and God is asking of us what God is asking of all. What can we learn from and what can we contribute to this time and not another time? We seniors are challenged to deal more, not less intensely, with the issue of what will be passed on to future generations. Someone said the greatest challenge we have is to pass on to the next generation what we've learned, okay? So, maybe we could do that. But I forgot something. I usually have people introduce themselves and just say where you're from. So we'll start with Weldon.
Weldon Schwartz,
Okay.
and my wife Karen.
Okay, you're here in Grand Rapids, right?
We live here, yeah.
Okay,
Judy Grants from Grand Rapids.
all right.
John Frederick, Rockford.
Okay.
Barb Fenning, Grand Rapids.
All right, Barb.
Nancy Wood.
Nancy?
Nancy Wycamp, Granville.
Okay.
Marge Kubikowski, Grand Rapids.
Noreen Simmons, Cathedral of St. Andrews, Grand
All right,
Rapids.
there you go. Okay, me too. Some of us are cathedral folks here. Okay. Okay. So, this future generations, a lot of times we just think about, okay, what am I going to leave in my will, right? That's what I think, okay, the future generation. When I was growing up, we had Benedictine sisters, and one, Sister B, she taught me for, I think, 5 years in a row. We had a schoolhouse with 2 rooms in it, big room and the little room. And I was in the big room 5 years, 5th through the 8th grade. Anyway, she kept saying, where there's a will, there's a way. Anybody ever heard that?
Yes.
Well, there's another way of looking at it. Where there's a will, I want to be in it.
Oh, I'm right.
Okay, all right. The author of Aging as a Spiritual Journey, Eugene Bianchi, proposed that persons in midlife are called to make their lives more contemplative within the context of active worldly endeavors. He deplored the polite banishment of the elderly from the world of politics, economics, and civic life, and concluded that the challenge to older people from today's world is to preserve human dignity in a hostile environment.
Big job.
Comments?
Big
Anybody
job.
like that? Agree, disagree? What do you think?
Agree, but a huge job, Father,
What's the huge job?
to preserve human dignity in a hostile environment.
Ah, it's a challenge. Isn't it?
Very big, yes.
I just think the world has become more hostile.
Uh-huh.
It's harder
Okay.
to do that, because
Okay.
we were brought up in a different era.
Right. And we were brought up in a different era and a less distracted era,
Exactly.
Not as
a less
fast.
busy era,
Slow, yes, yes.
you know? A less smartphone era, I mean, whatever you want to call it. But it is not easy growing up today and staying centered. And that's what he's talking about here is the contemplative practice. And that's what I want to recommend to everyone, if you take nothing more out of this class, than to find a contemplative practice that you can deal with. And the one, of course, I teach is centering prayer. And I don't know if we have those little pamphlets in the back which explains how to get on them. Do we have that, Kelly? Do you know?
Yes.
Oh, okay. We'd like to let you know about, they're on the website of the Catholic Information Center, and I recorded these talks back in 2013, in November, and so I feel like a philanthropist every time I teach it. But I've been practicing this since 1977, when I learned it at a Baptist monastery in Spencer, Massachusetts. And I've been practicing ever since, 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the afternoon, and it's changed my life. It's transformed my life. I don't know how people can live without it, especially in this day and age when it's so, rat race, hurry, hurry, run, run, and catch up with emails, all this kind of stuff. It's so important to be centered in a spiritual practice. And so I urgently urge you to look at this and to get involved. It's the hardest thing you'll ever do because it's built-in failure. You cannot do it, quote, quote, right. And that's what our ego needs, to be dethroned by failing. This is the concept of Richard Rohr's falling upward. It's like the ego wants to be on top, and when Jesus said, if you want to live, you have to die, he's talking about our ego. Our ego is not our self-esteem. That's what it usually means in the psychological world. But in the spiritual world, ego means that part of you that doesn't realize that it's connected with God. It thinks it's isolated, okay? That's the ego. And that's the part that is suffering so much because our hearts were made for God, and we're going to be unhappy and miserable until we are in touch with God. So it's all a matter of returning, going back to God, like the prodigal son. Okay, so it's a lifelong journey, but it is so vitally important. Okay, I'd like to go into more, but we'll have to take another class in that. Okay, who's going to read this for me here? Okay, Noreen.
Okay. Clark states that as wonderful as the living in the present moment, one day at a time is, when this wisdom is understood and practiced, to neglect of grateful and compunctious memory and dreaming hope, elderly Christians are deprived of two powerful sources of psycho-spiritual energy. Living fully in the present itself becomes more difficult when we do not also live from the past toward the future. Pastoral and spiritual ministers to the elderly do well when they incorporate the healing of memories and joyful anticipation of the future into their offerings. Interesting.
Okay, just take another look at it and highlight what really stands out. And if you'd like to share something that left off the page at you, that resonated with you, what is it?
Joachim, for me, and I'm connecting with my sister right now who's slowly dying, and when you talk about incorporate the healing of memories and joyful anticipation of the future into their offerings, healing of memories, both good and bad, have been helpful to her in healing, but so far, and I don't know if her fear or her lack in faith and trust in God, the future for her she still is so off-centered for
Yeah.
her.
Yeah, well, that fits a lot of people, right? And this healing is so important. That healing, the word healing. Healing of memories. We carry a lot of baggage with us, huh?
Yes.
And a lot of times when we go into this contemplative practice and silence, all these things come up, this garbage, whatever you want to call it. And so we try to keep busy so we don't have that come up, you know. So we avoid silence. We avoid the very thing that can heal us. And silence, I'm sure, in my opinion, is divine therapy. But we have so little of silence today. And so we're missing divine therapy. God wants to speak to us in the silence. What does the Psalm say? Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I'm God. You be still, okay? So, a lot of, we'll be going to this more, but a lot of things you read about is live in the present moment, right? Live in the present moment. Well, that's only part of the picture. He's pointing out here that we also need to incorporate the past and the future. Healing of the past, anticipation of the future. Put them all three together. You live in the present moment, but you're also aware of you are a accumulation of many people in the past who have loved you and have refused to love you. Okay? And you are also, because of that, either hopeful for the future or despairing.
Right.
Okay? Okay. The bright promise of immortality may seem to the elderly illusory and unconsoling. At times one can almost feel the atmosphere of despair. In many homes for the elderly, a sense of nothing now to live for mentality.
Yeah.
So where does this lead us as followers of Jesus? You ever go to nursing homes? They're just
Yes.
depressing.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. You just think, oh my God, I hope I never go there. It's just, people are just sort of vegetating. They're not really, not much quality of life. And a lot of it depends on the people there and how they prepared themselves for their elder years. And if they didn't, and they just let them kind of creep up gradually and so forth, and it's ready or not, here I come, they're going to have it very challenging in those years. So it's all about preparation for those years, so that you're not caught off guard, okay, that you're aware of what's going on. Otherwise, it's all a matter of what's done to you, and you have no consciousness of it, and you're not aware of how it fits into the whole ball of wax, huh? The whole enchilada. There you go. Kelly's got some good doing. Okay, now Father Thomas Keating, one of my favorites. He's the founder. He's a Trappist. He was an abbot at St. Joseph's in Spencer, and is now living at the monastery St. Benedict's in Colorado. And he's the founder of Contemplative Outreach, which fosters centering prayer. And this is a couple of CDs that I recommend to you, called The Gift of Life, Death and Dying, Life and Living. Okay, and it's by Thomas Keating with Father Carl Orico. So let me put that on the board so you can see it. It's called The Gift of Life. Thomas Keating. And it's, you can get either DVDs or CD. I got DVDs because it might be something we might could teach here sometime at the, it has stages of dying, suffering, judgment and mercy, after death, the cross, the mystery of God, theological foundations, coming home. So it's got a little booklet with it, the guidebook, plus the DVDs themselves. So this is Thomas Keating here that we're looking at. Death is a transformation process. Now that's a key word, transformation. You know, we're called to be transformed, to become, which is what St. Paul says. He says all that matters is that we become a new person. That's the transformation, the new person. Death is a transformation process that begins in earnest once the acceptance of the inevitable and the diminutions of the self takes place. There is a work going on that is relentless and very challenging, but its purpose is to heal all the wounds of the soul so that it can open itself completely to God and begin to feel the regenerating or the powerful forces that it may have been separated from all of its life. In other words, experiencing in the full sense of the term, inner resurrection of the ground of being, which is the Trinity within us. Not easy to grasp, but it's a lot in there. That's one of the things that you can take home and reflect on and just, you know, see, it's got that healing in there, the healing of the wounds of the soul. It calls it work that's relentless. Why? So that you can be open to God. This is the whole idea of the homework brings you open to God. Because a lot of times we've been separated all of our lives from the fullness of who we are in God. In Christ, as St. Paul would say. Everything is in Christ. Any questions on that? Anything stand out for you with that? Do you find it striking? What do you like about it?
Healing the wounds of the soul. I just had knee surgery about a month ago, so I got a lot of time on my hands lately.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And when Father Mark David was here, I took his spirituality for depression, and we still have 4 people left to go.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, what that brings to mind with me is I can sit around and turn the TV off or whatever, and all these embarrassing memories or hurtful things that were done, I mean, way back to childhood
Right.
and all the way through,
Right.
That comes up a lot, and it's been, it's like getting to like myself is
Right.
hard, because I have internally, like if I screw up on something, I'll call myself a dumb so-and-so or whatever,
Right.
which is something I've gotta, feel like I gotta knock off.
Okay. Very good point. Can I address that? What you're talking about here is what is my favorite talk that I'm always bringing up in my classes, and that I think is the most important spiritual word in the world today, which is judging. Judging, and one of the stepchild of judging is labeling. Which means, say to yourself, I'm just a dumb, I'm stupid, I'm a jerk, you know, whatever. So as soon as you label yourself in any kind of word, like stupid, jerk, whatever, you give yourself a ticket to get angry at yourself. Anger turned inward is depression, okay? Same thing when you label someone else. Someone pulls off in front of you in the car and you jerk, you stupid, you know. You give yourself a ticket to get angry at them. But first had to come the judgment. You judge that person to be evil. You had to in order to get angry at them. But it's a process. You start by judging, which is separating, which is alienating, and then that goes into the justice dimension, which says, you shouldn't be that way, therefore I'm going to be angry at you, and because I'm against injustice, okay? So anger is what follows from the labeling, and anger is tied in with the feeling of justice and injustice. Just check back the last time you found yourself getting angry, and see if it was not associated in some way with justice. They had no right to talk to me like that. They had no right to tell me I couldn't go there, whatever it is. It's this alienation of rights. No one had a right, you know. I'm your husband, you're supposed to love me, aren't you? It's against, you know, I have a right to your love and you're not giving it, and you get angry, and it's all connected with anger and justice. Does that make any sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, well, so what you're talking about, let's see, what's your first name again?
Done.
Don. Which Don, and this is business of judging. You're judging yourself, and but you use the word in there that is to your detriment, because you said I've got to change this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you when you get into the judging thing, you eliminate any language that is against freedom.
Okay.
And that would be anything like have to, must, should.
Yep.
People tell me, oh, you should do this, you should do that. Excuse me, don't should on me. All right? And you have to be careful of your vowels, but it's the same thing. Both of them start with SH, right? Okay. So no one has a right to tell you what you should do. You don't even have a right to tell yourself what you should do. Because that's a language that is totally useless. You can delete all of these from your vocabulary and never miss them. And you'll be a lot happier person. So what you do is when you catch yourself using this kind of language, even in your thoughts, you have the red flag technique, which means a little red flag goes up the corner of your eye and you say, oops, I'm just shooting on myself. I'm just saying I have to do this, I have to do that, I got to, I must. Do I want to continue there, or do I choose to either choose yes or choose no? And then it becomes a decision, a free decision. I choose to, I choose not to. But don't ever say, I gotta do this. It goes against your very nature as a free child of God. I cannot stress that enough. So meanwhile, I'm getting off on all kind of other material as usual. And I'm not going to say I should not do that, okay? So, There is a kind of integral freedom that characterizes the final stage of transformation in Christ. This is that final passing over into God. You know, this integral freedom. And people that study death and dying, like Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, they speak of the peace that comes to people when they reach this stage of resignation and acceptance, and they're ready. But they go through the whole stages of denial and anger and, you know, blaming and all that kind of stuff. Okay, now let's look at this book here called The Gift of Years. Kelly, do we have these books out there? Do you know? I asked you to order them. Do you know?
If you did, then they are.
Okay. All right. Anyway, you might check on the way out. It's The Gift of Years. I suggested that she order them through Amazon and get the used copies. A lot of times they're less expensive than the postage, you know?
Right.
That's what I do all the time. And then just have a little, they maybe have a little mark on them or something, but they're just as good, you know?
Sure.
So, I mean, you can see how I mark my books, okay? I use highlighters. I'm a highlighter freak, you know? And, but this is a wonderful book. I used this book to give a retreat to the nuns at Marywood a couple years ago. And Sister Sue Tracy and I gave this together. And so it was, we just took different parts of it. There's just so many different areas in here. It's about 24, 30 different areas. I just chose 8 of them to reflect on with you, okay? Those are transformation, regret, freedom, letting go, meaning, adjustment, time, and solitude. Okay? And we probably won't get through all of them, but you have everything written out in your booklet so you can study it. So where'd you find this little thing here, Kelly, of the flower starting out? That's neat.
Yes.
Kelly does all this research and these little, what do you call them?
Graphics?
Graphics, yeah. She's a graphics expert.
That's excellent.
Isn't that neat? I love it. Way to go, Kelly.
Yes.
Okay, transformation. Who's reading? Okay, Judy.
The truth is that older people tend to come in 2 flavors, the sour ones and the serene ones. The sour ones are angry at the world for dismissing them from the rank and file of those who run it and control it and own it and are not old in it. They demand that the rest of the world seek them out, pity them, take their orders, stay captive to their scowls. The
Wait a
serene...
minute, yeah, we'll stop there, okay. What do you think about that? Does that ring true?
I've seen people like that.
Have you really?
And not just
I
old
am
ones.
so
not just old
surprised.
ones.
What's that?
And not just old people.
No. So, these sour ones are angry at the world. You ever been around people that are just angry at the world? Don't you just love to be around them? No, my God. Oh my, it's contagious. Their spirit rubs off on you, and it's negative, and it's not healthy. I try not to spend a lot of time with people who are negative. It just saps the energy out of you. Okay. But isn't this demanding spirit? They're angry. They want people to pity them and do what they say and take control. And it's people who have never learned how to live the gospel. Okay? They think the world's about them. And the world is not about them. You're about the world. We've got it all messed up. Okay, so the sour ones and the serene ones. Let's look at the serene ones. All right, go ahead.
The serene ones live with soft smiles on their aging faces, a welcome sign to the world of what it means to grow old gracefully, to have the grace of old age. They require us to go on growing more and more into ourselves as we age. It is of those that Lesueur, who lived to be 96, wrote, "I'm luminous with age. Luminous, not painted, not masked, luminous. They are the women and men who see with wider eyes, hear with tuned ears, speak with a more knowing tongue. These are people with soul."
Okay. Met anybody like that?
Yes, yes, yes.
What a joy to be around,
Yes,
right?
you want to be
You
around.
want to be around them. They rub off on you. Their spirit, their joy. It's not that they have any more or less suffering than anyone else, but they know how to integrate that into life. You know, I'm just listening to this wonderful series of tapes on Jesus and the Buddha, and it's with Richard Rohr and James Finley, and it is powerful because the Buddha speaks a lot about the Four Noble Truths about suffering, and it's all about what is suffering, why are we suffering, where does it fit in our lives, how can we get beyond it, how can we transform it, how can we transcend it. That is the ultimate, joy of life. That's why Jesus said, "I have come that you may have life and have it to the full." Okay? Luminous people. What a joy to be around. Okay, growing old gracefully. I would change that to growing older gracefully because I refuse to call myself old. I'll be 77 a few months, but I am not old. I may be growing older,
Oh,
but I am not old.
I like that.
Well, it's very important because it's a label. If I'm just an old person, I'm an elder, no. You may be eldering, you may be growing older, but you're not old. You see the difference?
Yes.
I have a friend of mine that was always correcting me on that. I am not old. I'm growing older, but I'm not old. Do you hear me? All right, I got you. Transition. Okay. Who's going to read this first? Okay. Barb. Yeah, Barb.
There is an important part of the aging process that lies in simply getting accustomed to being older. Part of being a vigorous older person demands, first of all, that we learn to accept it for what it is, a new and wonderful but different stage of life. We must admit, even in our own minds, to being older in a culture that is so youth-centered that age is something to be hidden rather than celebrated.
Amen. Look at all the advertisements to take your wrinkles out and, make you look younger and everything. It's like, look, and I earned these wrinkles, I earned this gray hair, why do you want me to get rid of it and give you money for that? What's behind this? Why is it? Why is it people they just don't want to look old? They gotta have wrinkles, they gotta take their sagging chin away and everything. What's the point of it? What's behind it?
Vanity.
Vanity? Okay. What else?
And I think they don't know God, and they haven't yet come to terms with preparing as we change and as we age.
Okay, good. Good responses. What else?
I think there's fear.
Fear? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Fear of what?
Getting old. Where am I going
Yeah.
with this?
Okay.
And you don't want to look at it,
Right.
even in the mirror.
I read one time where it said that they did some kind of a study in one of the universities, and they came up with the theory that the greatest fear that we have is to be alone. To be alone. And I would thought that probably to die alone too, But like, was it Rohr says, or somebody says that, we're all going to die alone, even if you have your whole family get into the deathbed with you at the moment of death, you're going to die alone. Right? Is that right or wrong, right?
True.
About 10 or 12 years ago, I started having panic attacks just about that.
Yeah, of course.
I'd wake up in the middle of the night and feel like my wife could be right there.
Right,
She felt a million miles away.
yeah. It's a fear.
It's scary.
It is. Well, it's especially scary, as you put it, unless we know that we are not alone, we're always connected to God. See, we're not aware of this connectedness. We think that, but if for one split second God would not be mindful of us, we would disappear just like a speck of dust would just be blown off the table. God is always, we could not be alive if God was not loving us into this chair or this room. But we forget it. We live in illusion. We live in the illusion that we're alone. And that's what contemplation does. It reconnects you. It rewires you. Okay? Anybody think you need sometimes to be rewired?
Yes.
Yeah, right. Okay, well, that's what it's about. Okay. Age is something to be, not to be hidden, but celebrated. You know people are celebrating life just by the way they walk into a room, just the way they look at you, And there's just something about someone who's this luminosity, They've grabbed hold of the whole of life, the suffering, the pain, the joy, and everything, and they say yes to all of it. Okay, go ahead, Barb.
The truth is that what must be transformed now is not so much the way we look to other people as it is the way we look at life. Age is the moment we come to terms with ourselves. We begin to look inside ourselves. We begin to find more strength in the spirit than in the flesh.
Okay, more strength in the spirit than in the flesh. The flesh is, here has been the body, the body that gets older and can't run like it used to, and can't jump rope and all this kind of. I don't know about you, but I feel it very often. I'm reminded of getting in and out of cars.
Yes, getting out of bed.
Just getting out of bed, whatever. It's like, I used to have no trouble doing that, and all of a sudden, or picking up something on the floor. I mean, it's like, wait a minute, where did my young body go? Anybody seen it around? It's like, it just got out of here quick, it escaped. And it just, sometimes you feel like it came so quickly, right? All right. Okay, transformation continues. Whoa, look at that. Bouncing on, okay. Power and control cannot be my definition of self anymore. I must now find in myself whatever it is that gives me a personal place in the world around me. I'm fun to be with. I care about other people. I have begun to live for deeper, richer, more important things than I have ever done before. I am caretaker, public watchdog, social advocate, companion now. I begin to see myself differently now. I begin to discover that in many ways I'm far more important now than I've ever been in all of my previous life. This is Joan Chittister talking,
Wow.
She's I was on a retreat with her one time in New York, on Long Island, and she is a firecracker. She is alive. You ever met her?
No.
Anybody met her, Joan Chittister? She's probably the most well-known nun in the United States, and she is her own person. Let me tell you, she's a Benedictine nun, and she is sharp as a tack, and she knows who she is, and she's not afraid of anybody. And at the same time, she's a very loving person. But she has discovered who she is, and she's celebrating it. So you can tell by just the way she writes here. She says, and it's power and control. That is so key. Judging is one key, power and control is another. They're very interconnected. We judge because we want to be in control. we judge others before they judge us, you know, we judge them enemy, friend, threatening, whatever, and to give us some kind of control over the future. So we want to, anybody here like not to be in control? I mean, anybody here prefer to be in control than not control? No? Anybody? No? Well, and you're shaking your head. You'd rather be in control? What are the areas that you think are most fearful of not being in control?
Health.
Health. Okay, that's a biggie, isn't it? Yeah.
I mean, just come off a week and a half of I'm like, what's going on?
Okay.
And I'm sick with what? And what else? How do you go in for A and come out with several other diagnoses?
I know. It's like, hey, where's this going to end? And we know where it's going to end.
What's the next time to visit the doctor? A year or two from now? Go, what?
Yeah, right. I know. It's the uncertainty, huh? And but see, when you're in control, there are no uncertainties. You've got it all under control, right? And that's the ego. That's the ego that does not want to be out of control, that does not want to be dependent, that does not want to in any way have to rely on someone else, okay? So, there we're bouncing around. Here we go. I find too that the number of absolutes in my life is precipitously reduced. I'm a lot less dogmatic now about the nature of God. I'm not as sure as I once was about what is gravely damning and what is not. More important of all, I'm happy to put that decision in the hands of the God whose nature seems far more compassionate now as I've gotten more compassionate myself. We're talking here about dogmatic people, all right? You ever met people that have all the answers, and if you don't believe them, just ask them, you know? And they're very dualistic. It's either right or wrong. It's black or white. It's, you know, good or bad, and there's nothing in between. And it's really sad when you meet elderly people this way. I mean, you kind of expect younger people because they haven't grown up a lot, they haven't matured. But when you see elderly people, dogmatic, stuck in their ways, you know, it's scary because it's like, you know, what's the chances of them changing too much? Because they don't see the need to change. They're uncontrolled, thank you very much. They've got the answers, although they don't, and they know it, but they won't admit it, okay? So compassion is a key part of this whole thing. Any comments, questions? What are you outlining? What are you highlighting here? That's what I want to know. What's jumping off the page at you so that you got to remember it?
Not as sure as I once was about what is gravely damning and what is not.
What does that say to you, Don?
It's about being, I'm going back, I guess I'm using the young people I hang around with, that I play golf with a lot. And a good friend of mine, her kids, the one that first comes to my mind is the kids now are definitely more, they feel more sexually free. The stuff that we learned was mortal sins. They don't even consider it a mortal sin. You know, like I think, how can it, if they go before the priest before premarital stuff, and they tell them they've been living together for 2 years, you know, I mean, how, in my day, that would have, the priest might not even married. That's just one example. There's
I know. Well, we could really go off on a tangent on that one. Okay, but a lot of it is about judging, okay? You see somebody doing this, you judge them as evil. See, we don't usually make the distinction between the one doing the act and the act itself. You know, you can evaluate an action. This particular action, you can say, does not tend to deliver good results. Okay, that's a judgment, evaluation of an action. But to say someone, you're evil because you're doing this action, you know, you're on holy ground. You have no right to judge someone as evil. You know, I don't even think God judges us. I really don't. And I've had 51 years of priesthood, and I've been working on this and studying it and looking at Scripture. Why did Jesus come? To teach us how to fall in love with God, as God has fallen in love with us. It's about falling in love, not about obeying rules. All right? No one's going to be able to go up to the pearly gates and say, well, you know, I didn't kill anybody and I didn't rob any banks and, you know, I've been a pretty good guy in comparison with some other people I know. Where's my reserve seat, please? You know? I mean, it doesn't work that way. We can't even pronounce the name of Jesus on our own. It's all gift. And so we have no resumes to present. We're all nothing. We have nothing that merits anything because it's all God. It's not us. But as soon as we get into the merit, deserving, gaining category, we're full-blown ego. And God just cannot, the scripture says God resists the proud. And it's just, the ego and God don't mix. It's all about being humble. Humble means truthful. Okay? So we need to be very careful about judging other people. Alright? I know that we could get into a real tangent, but let's keep on. Move on. Transformation continued. Go ahead, who's reading?
I was.
Okay, who's reading now? Another person.
The burden of these years is a possibility that I might stay more buried in my losses than aware of my gains. A blessing of
Wait,
these.
we'll just keep going what we have up here. See, we've separated the paragraphs so we can look at them one at a time. I know that you're looking at your books, that's fine. This is an open book test, okay? So, what's that say though?
You're thinking about all the negatives in your life rather than all the positives.
Mm-hmm. Looking at the glass half empty, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And maybe suffering from a lot of guilt
A lot of guilt. All right.
about what I didn't do, what I did wrong.
What I should have done and I didn't do it, and what I have to do and I haven't done it, and oh my gosh. Can take all the joy of life just by the way you use your language. And if you're not watching your language, you will be joyless. And that's what I'm talking about, those languages over there, the have-tos, the musts, the shoulds, got-tos. They take all the joy out of life. Irene, do we still have in the videos on demand any of my courses on judging? Do you know?
Not currently, but I can pull them up and put them on.
If you would, I'd appreciate it because I refer a lot to people on that and it's very helpful to get the whole picture, okay? Thank you, Irene. Okay. All right, go ahead.
A blessing of these years is the transformation of the self to be at long last the self I have been becoming all my life, an oasis of serenity in a world gone sour on age, the very acme of life.
Okay, what's that say? Break it down.
I appreciate your little bio on our class today when you talked about learning to develop an attitude for gratitude, and that's how I see this.
Okay, all right. All about attitude. Attitude is just the framework, the viewpoint of everything. From what point are you viewing things? That's your viewpoint. You know, that's another word for attitude. It's colored. It's a lens through which you see everything. If you have an attitude of pessimism, you see everything is bleak and everything's going to hell in a handbasket and nobody's good anymore, they're all selfish and, oh my gosh, it's just please turn on the gas, you know? So, so it's this self that's becoming, this developing part of me. I like the part, it says, the self I have been becoming all my life, an oasis of serenity in a world gone sour on age, the very acme of life. So Kelly found these neat little graphics here. It looks like a garden here with the orchid and looks like Myers garden there. And here, I'm not sure what those are, but I like them. They're little pogo sticks or something. Is that what they are?
Something on Mary Poppins.
It looks like Mary Poppins. Look like those pogo sticks that you jump on, you know. The rainbow and everything. It's a sign of joy, all right? Okay. Now, we're going to go into we're going back transmission, we're going to regret. The big aspect of growing older, regret. Looking back and saying, oh, if I'd only done this and not that, you know. If I'd only married this person and not that person. If I'd only gone into this career and not that career. It's called regret. Anybody ever have regrets? Anybody have regrets? We all have regrets. That's part of life, right? Okay. Regret comes dressed like wisdom, prompts us to begin to look back and question everything. I should have listened to my mother. What other things would you put in? I should have, fill in the blank.
Done it differently.
Done it differently, all right. What else?
Should have used my head.
I should have used my head, all right. What else? Aren't you looking like you're coming up with something there, were you?
Well, I put the word should out of my mind, now I have to put it back in there, you know?
I know, this is just temporarily, you can bring it out for a second, like recess, you know? I should have what?
Should have gone to college, should have made different job choices.
Okay.
Should,
I should have been born taller rather than shorter, right? We have a lot of should haves in there. Okay. Okay. Should have waited to go into the convent. All right. I could say I should have waited till I went to seminary. I went to seminary when I was 15. All right. 1955. Majored in something else. Gotten married. Gone away from this confining life, etc. Those are some of the should haves. Okay. We could stay all day mentioning those, right? Now what about the shouldn't haves? What are some of those? Shouldn't have done what? Shouldn't have stayed here in Grand Rapids, right? No.
Should have quit that job.
Shouldn't have quit that job. All right. Well, we've got anybody else? Karen, you've got one, I'm sure. Shouldn't have what?
I shouldn't have quit college.
Oh, okay. We all have a little shouldn't have. It says, weariness comes with regret. Now too late to change, to begin again. You know? Like, Well and I were talking about, I should have studied Spanish instead of French and German or whatever it was, you know? Yeah, right. Now some things, you didn't have a choice if you want something else. Like, when I was in the seminary, we had 4 years of canon law, which was about as useless as, use your own imagination. I could have learned a lot of languages in all those years I put in canon law, which a lot of it changed anyway, and you know, it's not that important, but at that time it was you do that or you don't get ordained. Okay, I'll do it, you know. Okay, so it's too late to bring that back. Okay. Demands to know why we made our decisions. Why we made our decisions. To justify our decisions. All such thoughts can lead to depression. Our thoughts, emotions, and attitudes are key determinants of how we age. They can threaten the quality of time we bring to the present moment. Agree or disagree? Why? This is going to be on your final exam.
We can't change our past, but hopefully we can, with prayer and thought, learn from it and then move on
Right.
with, again, as part of our transformation. So,
That's right. That ties in with what we talked about before, that we just don't focus on, well, the present moment, the present moment. Well, that's fine, but part of our responsibility is to look back and say, you know, I learned something from that suffering or that experience, and I value that learning, you know. It wasn't easy, but I learned from it, and I'm grateful for it, right? Right. Quality of time we bring to the present moment. Yeah, how many people look back and say, why did I do that? Why did I make that decision? Why? And they keep hitting themselves, you know. Well, I was so stupid. I was so dumb, you know. What good is that? The fact is, you made that decision. Okay, what did you learn from it? And you move on, you know. What's that saying that says, those who do not learn from the past are doomed to repeat it, right? Who said that? You remember? Can't remember.
Some historian.
Not a historian, right. Okay. Keep going with regret. Who's reading?
Okay. No regret is not in sight. It is in fact the sand trap of the soul. It fails to understand that there are many ways of fullness of life, all of them different, all of them unique.
Okay. What does that say? No regret. Regret is not in sight. What does that mean?
Sand trap of the soul.
At first,
Sand trap. This is all for golfers, right? Who wants to be in the sand trap? I was in yesterday.
doesn't it keep you stuck? If you're regretting, then you aren't growing, and you aren't then putting our past, present, and future all together.
Altogether, right, yeah. Regretting is, I think, judging. It's judging the past and judging yourself for not doing it right. You know, I don't think that, you know, I think God has a terrible memory. I really do. I don't think God remembers. God just lives in the present moment and loves us. God doesn't judge us in a change. God loves us in a change. Can you fall in love with someone who's judging you? Can you imagine anything worse than dying and hearing God say, "Oh, I regret that I made you, kid." Can you imagine anything worse? God regretting was to be made? Oh God, help me, please. No, there's no regrets in God. God doesn't have a past or a future. God is only in the present moment. And we can't imagine that because we know what it's like to have a past. We know what it's to think about the future. But just to have this present moment, when we die, there'll only be the moment of now. There won't be any past or future. This is only what we deal with now. Okay, next one, Karen, next one on there.
Spends good time on what was not rather than on what is.
Okay, what's that doing? Kind of negative, right? All right, go ahead.
Regret is a temptation. It entices us to lust for what never was in the past, rather than to bring new energy to our changing present. It is a misuse of the aging process. One of the functions, one of the gifts of aging is to become comfortable with the self we are, rather than to mourn what we are not.
Okay. To become comfortable with the self we are. How many people go through their lives saying, oh, if I were only taller or shorter or thinner or more beautiful or less, wrinkled, people can go through that life just like that. Ever catch yourself? Rather than bring new energy to our changing present. The misuse of the aging process. One of the gifts of aging is to become comfortable with the self we are right now, rather than to mourn what we are not. I think a lot of people think God is looking at them and saying, oh, if you were just different, I could love you. But as you are, I don't know. No, God only looks at us with love. God loves us just as we are. God could not love us any more than we are right now. God does not love us if we change. God loves us so that we can change. I'll repeat that. God does not love us if we change. No conditional love. God loves us so that we can change. What's the difference? Where is the emphasis? On God or on you?
On God.
On God. God is everything, right? Okay.
By all means, we must look back. By all means, we must ask ourselves why we are where we are. And we must ask, too, why we did not do all the things we thought, at least at one time, we wanted to do, we should have done.
Okay. He says we must ask why we did not do the things we thought, at least at one time we wanted to do, or should have done. So, it's not a matter either or, it's both and. It's looking back, but not with a judging attitude. Looking back to say, okay, what did I learn from this decision? Okay? It's a learning process. It's all about learning. Comments, questions, disagreements?
Well, I think it's good to look back as long as you don't get stuck there.
Yeah, right.
That you acknowledge.
You acknowledge, okay, this is what happened. I'm not going to deny it, right? This has happened. Yeah. But what did I learn from it? And to see if this looking back is serving as an obstacle to my living in the present moment. If we're always looking back and, oh, if I'd only done this, if I'd only done that, you're not living in the present moment. You're judging yourself as having goofed. You didn't do that right. Get over it. God's already over it. Why are you not over it? All right. Okay. Go ahead, Karen.
The burden of regret is that unless we come to understand the value of the choices we made in the past, we may fail to see the gifts they have brought us.
Okay.
The blessing of regret is clear. It brings us, if we are willing to face it head on, to the point of being present to this new time of life in an entirely new way. It urges us on to continue becoming.
Okay. Face it head on, Observe everything, but just don't judge, okay?
The fact is that the twinges of regret are a step-over point in life. They invite us to revisit the ideals and motives that brought us to where we are now. They remind us of the people we love, the sense of direction that drove us on, the commitments we made and kept. It is the choices we made in the past that have brought us to be the person we are today. The roads not taken may have done the same, but then again, they may not have.
Okay, The Road Not Taken, right? By Robert Frost, right?
Right.
By the way, Robert Frost lived right across the street from where I lived for about 8 years in Lawrence, Massachusetts. He, the church, I was at an old rectory, St. Anne's, and the church right across the street, the property that the church was built on was, one half of it was Robert Frost's home, and the other was a member of his family. And they eventually Robert Frost went to school at Lawrence High down the street and lived right there, you know. And Robert Goulet used to sing in the choir at St. Anne's, the same church,
Oh my.
you know. Who else is from Lawrence? Leonard Bernstein. I mean, it's, you know, quite a, and me, I live there. No.
Right.
Well, productive.
Yes.
All right, okay. Freedom, okay. Let's take a little break now, in about 10 minutes, and we'll come back and try to finish up. We're not going to be able to get through it all, it's just too much. But it's going to give you a lot of room for thought, okay? So let's take a little break, relax. Relax. Go on. Freedom. Old age, the Austrian novelist Marie von Ebner-Eschenbach wrote, transfigures are fossilizes. I love that quote. Transfigures are fossilizes. It's our choice, right? It is a very comfortable feeling to know that age does not change us. On the contrary, in some ways we're just getting to be more of who and what we've always been. Which means, of course, that we can decide right now what we intend to be like when we're 80. Approachable and lovable, or tyrannous and precious. Tyrannous and precious.
Like
Wow.
Tyrannus.
Is it tyrannus? I've never seen that word before,
I
tyrannus.
think she kind of, two words.
Made a
are
coin,
shifted
she
together.
coined the word maybe? Tyrannical maybe, I read that, yeah, right, yeah, okay.
I like Tyrannus.
Right, tyrannus, like Tyrannus Rex, right?
Dinosaur.
Dinosaur.
Like a dinosaur, right? Okay, what does that say to you? That's very important. Flesh it out for me. Highlight it.
Age does not change us.
We can decide what we want to be.
We are what we have always been. Scary thought. Approachable, movable.
It's up to us, it's all in the choosing.
The choosing, huh?
Yeah.
Do you think that you're different, very different now than what you were when you were a teenager?
Yes.
I don't think so.
With attitudes and what we've learned. And that we have to make use of that as we transition. And
Mm-hmm. Are some people a certain way at 20 and then at 80 completely different?
yeah, some people
I think the emotions are the same, you know, and that's because the emotions then lead to thinking and all that. But if you think about something you were hurt from when you were a kid, like being teased or something like that, it hurts just as much today as it did back then,
That's interesting.
and maybe more.
You know, say I guess I disagree with that respectfully, because I can deal a lot better with people who tease me today than I did when I was 14 or 15.
Oh,
I really can. I mean, people would label me or whatever, and then it would just tear you up. You know. Here, okay, that's your opinion. You know, it doesn't. You know, it's the maturity, I think. But I think she's talking about your basic DNA doesn't change that much. You know, your number on your Enneagram, if you want to call it that. The Enneagram is a great study of personality. It's a 9-trait personality graph that they say came from the Sunnis, the Muslim contemplatives. It's a whole study in itself. If you ever want to study something, Google. I've done a lot of study on it. Enneagram. Ennea is some language for 9. I'm not sure. I think maybe Greek. I'm not Arabic. I'm not sure. But it's a stance that you take in life. You know, some people are more what you call it, submissive, and they follow the party system and they're loyal. Others are rebellious. Others want to be number one. Others want to be the artistic type. I mean, there's all kinds of things. It's a very helpful tool when you're working with people. Okay. Okay, who's reading this? Okay, well then, yeah.
Story of Sarah. Sarah wanted to go on and be more of what she'd always been, productive, creative, engaged, necessary. So when she went to Thailand to teach, where no one would ask her age, and no one cared what it was. They simply knew she was important to them. She had found the secret of aging well. She redefined freedom for all the world to see.
All right. Somebody like that, it's, you know, what was she, 96 was it? What did she say? I forgot. I think she's in her 90s. And she just goes over there and teaches English, okay? Second language. I have a good friend that's just left for Africa a few days ago. She's been there a week now. And she's been on the mission with me. She was born in Detroit, raised in Comstock Park. And when she was, I think, her late 60s, she went to nursing school. And I think she's 72, something like that to be there. She got a nursing degree. Although she retired from teaching English as a second language, she got her nursing degree just to go on missions. She's been to Nepal, she's been all over South America, Africa, the Caribbean. She loves it. She's just young at heart, you know? Okay. There you go. There she goes. There's my friend Jane. She's flying off to another place. Okay. But freedom in old age is the ability to be the best of the self I have developed during all those years. Freedom is the ability to be the best of yourself. All right? So much is tied up with freedom. Freedom and obligation. See, so often we have associated religion with obligation. All right? You have to do this, you have to do that, you can't do this, the mortal sin of you to that, these are the commandments, and you go through all these hoops and maybe God will love you. All right? It's not true. It's not true. God cannot love us any more than God loves us right now. And that's why we need the contemplative practice, because it leads contemplation and mysticism. Contemplation means, con means within, and this is temple. So it's within the temple of your body, contemplation. Mysticism is tied up, of course, with the word mystery. Rohr defines mysticism as that which goes beyond these three things: morals, dogma, and liturgy. It goes beyond them. It doesn't say they're no good. There's a place for them, but it's not enough. It says their fingers pointing to the moon. They're not the moon. So often we think the finger is the moon. It's not. What is the moon?
God.
Huh?
God.
And what else?
And what else?
It's union with God. Okay? That's the moon. We were born to be with God forever. And you study the mystics, you study Meister Eckhart, and you'll see where he's, 14th century mystic, Dominican, of the Order of St. Dominic. And he was only other one with St. Thomas Aquinas, who was 2 times professor at the University of Paris. Very influential mystic doctor of the church. Well, he wasn't a doctor, but Thomas Aquinas was. But he said that there's a part of us that was never born, that was always with God from all eternity. And then there's a part of us that was born at a certain time, a certain age, a certain year. But that part of us that was always in the mind of God is the part that is within us now that yearns to be with God, and we don't know it. We're not aware of it. We're unhappy, and we're not sure why. It's just something's missing. No matter how much money I have, how much power, how much fame, I'm still not complete. What is it? It's because that you can remember being with God for all eternity, and anything else is not is not comparable to it. Does that make sense? Okay. We have forgotten the teachings of mysticism and contemplation in our church. Most churches have. Okay. All right. Well, then why don't you continue, please?
Okay, now is the time to think it all through again. Everything, God, life, work, relationships, behaviors, goals. I am free now to measure all of them against my experience, to reshape them out of my new knowledge, to try things whenever the new spiritual energy leads me, to add new ideas to old ideas that have controlled my life for so long.
Okay. Read that to yourself silently and tell me what you'd like to highlight, what resonates with you. What jumps off the page at you?
New knowledge. My new knowledge. Free to measure all that against my experience, reshape all my new knowledge. Try things whenever my new spiritual energy leads me. Break away from the past if needed.
Okay, there's one word that's in there that just leaps off the page at me.
Free?
Huh?
Free?
No,
Now?
no, I've got 10,000 in my pocket for the person that can tell me.
Reshape,
Controlled.
What is it?
reshape,
It's a controlled.
No,
to try things.
no. One word that says everything.
God.
No?
Not God.
I am free.
Guess I gotta tell you.
You keep the 10,000. Experience.
Experience. Okay? What's your experience of it? You know? It says, try, free now to measure all of them against my experience. What is your experience?
My life.
What's been real for you, right? And that needs to be taken into account when we deal with such things as religion and laws and commandments. Okay, what's your experience of this? What happens when you lie, when you, you're not loyal, or what you kill someone? What happens? What's your experience of that? That needs to be focused on. How do you experience yourself if you cheat, if you fraud someone, defraud, or whatever, you know? Do you check your experience out? Or you try to cover it up? See, a lot of people go through life and, well, whatever they get away with, and they don't get caught, but they're pushing under the carpet their experience. How did you feel when you cheated that person or lied or whatever it is? It's experience, because that goes with you. That cannot be wished away. Okay? And so it's like the three-legged stool of Rohr's school of down in Albuquerque now. It says it's tradition, scripture, and experience. Okay? Tradition, scripture, and tradition. That's where you get this vision, this understanding of who we are in relationship with God, with others, and with ourselves. Okay, you take all those into consideration. The Word of God, the Scripture, the tradition of the church, all these years, those are all valuable, but also your personal experience. Okay? So often we've been told in the churches, don't trust your experience. Ask Father. Ask Sister. Ask the Bishop. Ask the Pope. Don't trust your own experiences. You'll get in trouble, right? So what do we have? We have people who are just nominally in love with God. They go to church and, they obey the commandments, they give to the collection and everything, but they're not fallen in love with God. They have not been respected. They're not said, you can trust your own experience. Well, you may fail, but okay, God had no trouble with sinners. Show me once in the scriptures where God had any trouble with someone with a sinner. No, that's not. That's a learning experience. All right? Some of the greatest saints were what? The greatest sinners before him, right? They learned from their experience that, hey, this didn't work. This was a dead-end street. And they found the street that was not a dead end. Questions? Answers? Okay, who's reading here? Anybody?
We are all in prison somewhere by something. But the attitude we choose for ourselves will determine whether the present prison we're in has the power to destroy us or not. From 40 Stories to Stir the Soul, page 31.
Yeah, that's another of Joan Chittister's books, the 40 stories to stir the soul. We're all in prison somewhere by something, but the attitude we choose for ourselves will determine whether this present prison we're in has the power to destroy us or not. You know, two people can be in actual prison, and one can be depressed, angry, suicidal, the rest of it. The other can be at peace and loving and forgiving. It's a choice, right? And we need to be aware of how are we looking at everything. It's all about seeing. And that's why contemplation is so important, because it's contemplation is a new way of seeing. A new way of seeing everything. We need a new way of seeing. Because if we're seeing with judgmental eyes, we don't see things as they are, we see things as we are. Right? We don't see things as they are, we see things what? As we are, through our filters. Okay? All right, go ahead.
The burden of these years is to allow all the stereotypes of old age to hold me back, to hold me down, to stop the flow of life within me. A blessing of these years is that they give me the chance to break the bounds of a past life and to create for myself a life more suited to what I now want to be.
Okay. So the burden is what? What's the burden?
Stereotypes.
To allow, that's the key word, to allow the stereotypes of old age to hold me back, hold me down, to stop the flow of life. You know? Two people can have the same age, and one is got a youthful attitude, wants to learn new things, wants to develop this, gift. Okay, so they didn't learn Spanish back in high school. Okay, it's right now, I'm going for it, Is it more challenging? Yes. But is it going to stop me? No. Others say, I could never sing. I could never carry a tune in a bucket. They never will carry a tune in a bucket. Other people, I'm going to take voice lessons, Or I'm going to paint, or whatever it is, A lot of people see my artwork and they say, oh, I can never do that. I say, excuse me? When I started, I didn't think I could draw my own breath. So it's a matter of saying, hey, try it, It's your attitudes can really stifle you and put you in prison, right? A blessing is that they give you the chance to break the bounds of a past life and to create for myself a life more suited to what I now want to be. It's all about choosing, isn't it? Choosing. But as long as we're into the have to, must, should, ought to language, we are not into the choosing language. It's the most liberating word in the English dictionary. I choose. I choose to go to this class. I choose not to. I choose to, study theology. I choose not to. Well, I have to, I guess. I have to go to church. You see, and anybody that's a minister looks down on the congregation they're preaching, you can tell on their faces who chooses to be there and who chooses not to. Who's there because, if I'm not here, it's a mortal sin, and if I go out of church and get hit by a Mack truck, I'll go to hell right away. So, hopefully, Father, you won't talk longer than 5 minutes, because I gotta get out of here. It's so sad. People are, they're free in name only, because they're not free in choosing to do what they want to do and they choose to do. They're obliged. You ever have people, if you're in the hospital and they come to see you, well, they don't want to be there. They just came because mother said, you've got to go see Aunt Sue, She's in the hospital and I'll never live it down if you don't go to see her. And so you go to see Aunt Sue in the hospital and hi Aunt Sue, how are you? So nice to see you. And oh gee, I'd love to stay longer, but when you look at your watch, immediately she knows you were obliged to get there. You might as well not have come. I mean, it's like obligation. Takes all the joy out of life. Okay. You know what? It is now 1:45. We're going to go to 2:45. And we had a lot more material here than we could possibly cover. So we've only covered 4 of the of these 8, right?
Yeah.
So Noreen here has suggested that we have another class on the others. No, my gosh, we got 5 more to go. Letting go through solitude. All right.
Take another class out of that.
Well, we could. Do you want to do that?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Maybe we could do it. Maybe after the first of the year or something.
Wonderful.
Okay. We'll do that.
Give us a chance to get caught up on other stuff we learned.
There you go. Yeah, we've got enough there for a lifetime to reflect on, right?
Right.
So what do you think? Are these helpful? Are these quotations? Are these,
Yes.
you found like it's giving you something that you didn't think about before? Okay, great. That's what